Hello and welcome to the year 2021 here on the Saturday Night Synthesis. I'm your host Alex, coming to you as always from Baltimore, Maryland. And we have a great show for you lined up, although it's going to be hard to top that. We are easing into the new year here on the Synthesis, although that didn't seem very easy to me. We're going to ask Frederick what he did on that song in just a minute. Tonight we've got another song by Frederick himself entitled Rayon Sleep with an accompanying video from his brother Joshua Foxtrott. It's going to be very exciting. And finally, our last segment tonight's going to be Frederick and myself. He was inspired by like-minded synth enthusiasts on the internet known as the Earth Modular Society to write a piece using one of his mods. It's called Maths. It's manufactured by a company called Make Noise. And so we're going to hear a little bit more about that later tonight, too. But first, before we do that, I wanted to throw it out to the audience, see how your guys' New Year was. How was your guys' how'd you ring in the year 2021? Go to any big wild parties? Haha, just kidding. Don't tell me if you did.
I didn't go anywhere. No one went anywhere. Did you see Times Square? Times Square was the saddest thing I've ever seen in my fucking life. I can't believe that. I can't believe they put that on television. They're trying to make Americans kill themselves. Like, oh, here's Cyndi Lauper and the mayor of New York. Like, and I hate to do that to you, Cyndi. By the way, like, you're an awesome lady, but god damn.
I served on Cyndi Lauper once. She was very nice.
You mean you served her food?
Oh yeah.
At what restaurant were you working when you served her food? Also, what did she order? Also, does she tip well?
I'll tell you who doesn't tip well. Bjork doesn't tip well, but that is...
Fucking Bjork. Love you, Bjork.
I love Bjork. I'm kidding. I love Bjork.
I once got stiffed on a tip by Moises Alou when I was in Chicago. Who was the third baseman at the time. I know how much that motherfucker made. Anyway, this is another episode of Complain About the Service Industry here on Saturday night. Hope you guys are all enjoying it. Well, if anyone out there has any stories about being poorly tipped by people who you know are rich, if you have any questions about the patches Frederick is doing at any of the songs tonight, leave them in the comments of the episode and he will answer them. If you have any questions about the equipment used in the making of this episode, check out the details of the episode. Click on that little button under the YouTube video window and it'll tell you everything you need to know, including links to anything we talk about tonight. And while you're there, why don't you like the video and subscribe to the channel? We only have about 948 subscriptions to go until we'll be rich enough to tip people poorly. But before I derail this episode completely, I would be remiss if I did not introduce you to the man, the myth, the legend, coming to us from semi-permanent exile on Long Island, which I have been told by several residents is also a strong island. It's Frederick Foxtrott himself. Frederick, how does 2021 find you?
2021 is fantastic, I guess.
So far,
it's been all right. I mean, I've got to play music a lot today. So.
Well, that song, I remember you telling me about playing that song and watching you kind of practice it, and the whole, I kind of catch my breath every time you have to detune that whole song right in the middle of it. That's kind of a hairy thing to do live.
One of the things that I always kind of talk about is that playing all these synthesizers, and having like several like looper pedals and things going on the floor, and then over here you have to take care of volume because so much of synthesis is actually volume management, because you'll have something in high frequency over here and something lower, and even though they might be at the same like volume, that higher frequency will cut through so much better. So you have to always be changing and adapting and being responsive to the synthesizer, which then in turn is kind of responsive to what you're doing. It's like spinning plates, and you're always kind of like just on top of it, and it's a kind of a rush because you always feel like anything could crash at any minute.
Well, I was always really struck too by, you think of electronic music as being like, it has a reputation of being robotic, being mechanical. But having learned about what the synthesizer actually is, it is this kind of live. It's literally live current. It's nothing's ever the same twice. It's not this programmed digital thing. It's it's kind of this living. The instrument itself is just kind of this living thing, and I find this really really interesting part about this music and especially live performance of it.
There's this reputation for it to be so mechanical and cold, when in fact it's such a collaboration almost, and it's almost like a duet when you're playing, because you never know, as particularly with the modular, you never know exactly. You're gonna push the frequency, or you're gonna push the filter, or you're gonna push something in a certain way, but you're not exactly sure if it's gonna sound how it did before. And there's also, I mean, people don't realize this, but if all of a sudden in this room, because I'm in here, or maybe the temperature changes, the frequency or the tuning on the synthesizers actually goes out in and out of tune based on the temperature in the room, because the components inside that analog instrument warms up or gets cooler, and
changes the resistivity of the...
yeah, I think it's really interesting how much it's actually kind of a collaboration, particularly playing live in that live setting where you're putting together all these different components. As much as I think modular synthesis like to play the instruments, I think there's also a rush from that idea of spinning plates and the idea that it could fall at any minute.
And it's got to be a really like a different beast to when you play electronic music live as opposed to electronic music when you're in a studio production, when you have the time to make everything perfect and do everything right and get everything kind of lined up exactly how you like it. I mean, what's that like? Can you talk a little about that?
I have a great example of that. I've recorded a song called Rayon Sleep, which is one of my favorite songs I've ever produced, but it really kind of shows how, or the distinction between, let's say, playing a live set or recording a live set and that. So let's go ahead and play the video. My brother was really awesome and decided to put together like a kind of visual so we can all watch something while we listen to it. And thanks, Josh. And then we'll talk about it on the other side of it.
Sounds great. Oh man, I love that song. I love the video too. Now, what does that look like when you play it on your play it on your DAW? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure.
Great.
So let's look at Rayon Sleep in GarageBand, and this is one thing you'll see that I have here is you'll see how many, I'm not quite sure, it's probably 30 or so, maybe more. So all those Mother 32 tracks, these are all separate recordings of just snippets of a arpeggiation or something that I really liked on the Mother 32 that I'm overlapping with one another, and I'm allowing them to accent in certain places. All the way up to the microKORG, I have quite a few of those as well, and then the little fatty as well. I mean, from the song, it starts off with the iconic voice, right, from the microKORG, which would then usually come in with the bass and drum. Here it goes. Right? So one at a time. Bass. And then I have a octave up on the right channel. This is on the left channel. Bring in some strings. And you can see I've actually taken just straight up samples from my drum machine. This is a drum beat I had. I like this beat, and then when I want to switch it up, the next beat, it's a little bit of a difference there to give it a little bit of shifting variation. Some cool little ratchet things. So, I mean, right here, it's just really important to kind of understand that when I'm recording a live set, for instance, I'm usually only recording 4 different tracks. You know, the drum machine, I have a collection of another mixer that's going into the main mixer of all the key synths. So the microKORG, the little fatty stage 2, and the Yamaha are all going into this one channel. So it's really important to get those balanced. And then I have the modular synth that's going in, and then the guitar. So those are the 4 I use when I'm recording a live set. And here I can record every instrument multiple times to really take full advantage of all that I can do with it. It's really a different thing to record in the studio and produce. You can cut away all the unnecessary things. You can really EQ things to a much more pinpointed degree. So, for instance, maybe we can look over here. We'll start here, and I'm just going to go with the Mother 32s real quick, so you can kind of get a sense of what I'm doing. So here's that really slow. It seems by itself. There's an octave or two. And then here's with the overlapping, it's the same exact arpeggiation, just double speed. And then that's the low, so here's the fast but high. Here's a little effect I put on that, a little echo. Here's a look at how it sounds in the song. Here's my little Stranger Things nod, a little nod to Stranger Things here real quick. So this is without drums. So as you can see, I just want to give you a sense of the massive difference that comes from recording just kind of the 4 tracks in a live set, and then what you can do in kind of a productive mode where you are really cutting away and isolating the sounds that you want, and then putting them on the grid and having a much more kind of sophisticated way. I personally love recording live sets, so it's not as though I don't want to disparage recording with just the 4 tracks. I actually think it can be much more satisfying, and this obviously takes a whole lot longer as well. Anyways, yeah, there's that.
I just love watching, kind of having a visualization of the track like that, being able to see how the song is built, and having you just isolate these different parts that you hear out of the mix.
You know, as I kind of explained, it's one of those things where that sense of the spinning plates aren't there. You can take one plate at a time, you know? You know, when people are doing their modular set, they want to kind of show that there's always the camera above their rack so that you can kind of see what you're doing, and that is really the you know, people who are kind of in the modular community are really interested in that. It's not so much just the sounds of it, you know.
Well, there really is a community, and it's like everything else. It's online. The internet is a place where these communities have really all come together, and I've really found that working on the Saturday Night Synthesis Instagram account at Saturday Night Synthesis, all one word. Come check it out. But anyway, I've been doing social media for the show, and really getting into this kind of people who make this music online. You're right. They said they have these videos showing the rack and showing them playing the music, and it's a big part of it. And actually, it's through the Instagram account I found out about the Earth Modular Society. EMS. It's really based around a Discord channel, but they stream on all the platforms. They do have a YouTube, but they also stream on Facebook Live. They stream on Instagram Live. Check it out. And I was really struck by how really a supportive community it was. And Eric, you know more about kind of these online communities than I do, and about synthesis communities than I do. Kind of what struck you about them?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that struck me about EMS is that organization is just so key. They just really got it perfect. I mean, they've only been around, I think, for a couple months, and they just really did a really great job of kind of front loading all the organization work that goes into that, and I really applaud that. There's a ton of people there who are so kind and very supportive.
Well, it was interesting to me. And I hadn't had a lot of experience with Discord. There's all these different rooms. There's a place where you can learn about playing the instrument. There's a place where you can put videos. There's a place where you can learn about streaming videos, take tips and techniques for that. And there's a place, too, where they have these kind of... and Frederick, you were telling me about this thing kind of synthesists do, which is kind of present each other with little challenges or kind of songwriting assignments. Using the instrument, and I think you kind of took one of those on.
Yeah, so like I was saying, there's always that show element, the video element, which is about showing what you're doing on the synthesizer, and we will kind of put up challenges of like, make a sound with just this small group of limited resources and see what you can do. So there was one that someone made a room called for the module Make Noise Maths, which I think that room might be deleted soon, but in there was this idea of like how to make a track with just, or a song, or I think more than just a patch, but like a song with just one module, which is the Make Noise Maths. And Maths is a utility module, which means that it's not so much that you make sounds coming from it. Rather, you use it as an LFO. You can use it as an envelope generator. You can use it as so many different things to kind of modulate music, modulate the oscillator, modulate what you're doing. It's not so much something that you actually produce sound with. So it's a really interesting thing to try and make music in a way that or make music from something that is not necessarily intended to be so. So the module itself does have like LFO capabilities, but if everyone knows, if you take an LFO and you speed up really fast, it becomes audible, and you can make an oscillator. So I went ahead and put together something. It's the most popular, and by popular, I mean everyone owns it. It's kind of the central piece to so many different racks. It doesn't do one thing particularly special. It's the fact that it's one module that does all these things and can do them all at once. So that's really why you're supposed to make a song or a track with just one module. And what I came to learn is that there's no real way to make it with just a Make Noise Maths. And maybe there is, and I'm sure that there's somebody out there who's going to do it way better than I would. But what I'm doing is I'm using a looper pedal with my feet. So I'm going to be playing sounds and then capturing the ones that I like.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to watch you play it. So what is it that the mass module? What is it that the mass module does? Like I know some of the modules. You did the PhonoGene demonstration where you saw how to kind of cut things and it looped things. And so I know some of the other modules like put kind of effects. One of them glitches out certain notes. Some of those put kind of effects over the notes and kind of distort them. What is it that the mass module does?
So right here, I have an LFO that's going, and it's going so slow that you can't hear it. But if I speed it up, on this side right here and on this side, you'll see these arrows that say rise and fall.
Okay.
If you'll remember when I talked about an envelope generator or attack and decay, where it goes from max amplitude to the quietest part, that's called the rise and the fall.
When you made a patch from the module to a module in the upper left hand corner of the rig, what is up in the upper left hand corner of the rack?
So this is just the mix. It's like it's not considered cheating because it is it's just a VCA or a voltage control attenuator. It's a volume control.
Okay.
So like.
Yeah.
Now it's about to go, and it's set. It resets. And that's a really, really long.
It's so loud.
Oh, it's loud?
It's super loud.
What happens to the wave when it resets? Like, why to my ears does that frequency go from such a low droning pitch to such a high frequency? Like,
right. So it's just literally, it's if you can just imagine, it's just less and less electricity going through. So that's
sure.
Okay. Yeah.
That makes sense.
And that's the fall. So I mean,
until there's none, and then when there's none, it turns it back to like the amount of electricity you had set at the beginning.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not none. It's whatever I have set it. So there's the rise and the fall.
Right.
So like, I know it's loud. I'm just gonna. That should be better. So, like, this should take forever. And then now I'm increasing the time in which it will rise back up. Basically making it go faster.
Yep.
Right? So now I'm going to go so fast that it's just going to be blip. Blip, 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 blip. And now this is what's called frequency modulation. Now it's going to go so fast that the blip itself is going to create its own tone. It's like a mower, like a mower. Like eventually the sound, it makes its own.
Yep.
It makes its own tone. So faster and faster. So that is basically an oscillator now. So now I can control that with the. I'm taking out an oscillator, which then will lower the pitch, and then I'll add the oscillator, which will add. So basically, what I have is left on, right off, which
when you're pressing those two buttons.
Right. So like I have left on, right, which makes the sound, and then I can take left off and put right on, and that will make another pitch, and then I can have that off, and then I can have both of them on. and then it'll make a third pitch. So that gives me basically 3 standard tones that I can use, basically allowing me to make a keyboard of left off, right on, right off, left on, and both on. Okay? So it gives me, I can actually do a 4th one as well. So there's this. So now you can see. So now I've made a keyboard out of the oscillator on-off switches.
Yeah.
Right? Which is really tough to do because you have to tune every oscillator, which is going 1,000,000 miles a second. And not only that, but when you tune, this is the worst part, is when you tune one oscillator, right? Let's say you tune left, right? As you're tuning left, it's going to affect right, even though it's off. So then when you turn it right on, it's all of a sudden changed and different. So it's like, you have your 3 tones that you can play, and then you put that over that beat, which the beat is just this slowed down.
Yeah.
And then I turn it up. So you get that going, and then you get the speed it up. And then slow it down. Yeah, so
that was really cool to hear. Actually, it was, after watching you do that, it was really interesting to listen to you talk about what you were doing. As someone who's been watching you do it for this long and like learning about it, I thought it was really cool to watch you do it. It's really interesting, and like it's always, as the audience, it's always interesting to watch it work, even when it doesn't work how you wanted.
It's like when the spinning plates fall, it's like, ugh.
Sometimes the spinning plates fall, man, for sure. And that is going to be it for us tonight at The Synthesis. I hope we've helped your 2021 continue apace, continue well. I would like to thank Frederick for all the music he played for us tonight, and also for Joshua Foxtrott for making that video. If you would like details about the Make Noise Maths module, about the Earth Modular Society, about any of the equipment you saw today, or the patches that Frederick used, let us know in the comments, or and don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to check the detail notes for all the links and all the details you might need. Good night.
Fuck it, we'll do it live. We'll do it live. I don't give a fuck.